Are you planning a trip to Istanbul? Then you have come to the right place. We're Jess and Miles, and after traveling around the world for the past 3 years, we are currently living here in Istanbul, Turkey. If you've already started planning out your time in Istanbul, I'm sure you've heard of many of the sites in the old city like Hagia Sophia and the Grand Bazaar, Topkapi Palace, and the Blue Mosque. And while these are great, and they're definitely worth checking out while you're here, Istanbul has so much more to offer than just the sites in the historic center.
In this video, we are going to tell you about 7 things to see and do that are outside of the main attractions in the old city. We're saving our favorite for last, and you probably haven't heard this one yet, so be sure to stick around until the end. If you are coming to Istanbul, please do not just come here for one day to run from site to site just to check off the list of main attractions. We would encourage you to dig a little deeper, get off the beaten track, really try to experience the city and see what makes it so special.
But real quick, before we dive in, we have created an in-depth guide to Istanbul that is packed full of useful information. We are talking 90 pages of info. In this guide, we are giving you all the tools you need to plan out the perfect stay in Istanbul. If you're interested, you can go to the link in the description or the pinned comments to learn more about it. Also, this is the first of a series of videos we'll be posting on Istanbul, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one.
All right, without further ado, let's get started with 7 things to see and do that are outside of the main attractions in the old city.
So number 1, eat your way through Cappadocia. Istanbul is a city that straddles 2 continents, Europe and Asia. And while most of the main sites are on the European side, the Asian side has a lot to offer as well. Food just so happens to be the perfect excuse to come over to this side. I honestly think a full day just eating over here would be a day well spent. Seriously, there are so many amazing restaurants. I think we could live here for years and not even be able to eat at all of the restaurants in just our neighborhood alone.
We're trying though. We are trying. Also on the Asian side, just north of Cappadocia in the Üsküdar district, you can explore the colorful neighborhood of Kuzguncuk. You might have already heard of Balat with its colorful buildings and cafes, and it is popular for good reason. Honestly, at this point, we would probably consider Balat to be one of the main attractions. So if you're looking for an equally picturesque, but much quieter alternative, then you should check out Kuzguncuk. You can wander the streets, there are plenty of cafes and restaurants, and there's even a really nice viewpoint up on top of the hill looking out over the Bosphorus.
And that brings us to number 3, sunset in Üsküdar. While you're in the Üsküdar district, you might as well go ahead and stay for sunset. And we have options for you. You can take in sunset from Çamlıca Hill, which is one of the highest hills in all of Istanbul. Çamlıca Hill is a very nice spot, but I will warn you, it's a bit far, especially if you're only here for a few days. And honestly, our favorite place to watch sunset on the Asian side is from the waterfront in Üsküdar. This is one of the best sunset views in all of Istanbul. Find yourself a spot along the water, grab a tea, and enjoy the show. From here, you will have an amazing view looking across the Bosphorus back to the Old City and Galata.
Number 4, breakfast on Breakfast Street in Beşiktaş. Did you know that there is a street in Istanbul dedicated to Turkish breakfast? On the European side, in the Beşiktaş district, you will find Breakfast Street. If you have not heard of Turkish breakfast, you are in for a treat. It is really more like an event. Expect it to last 1 to 2 hours, and no matter how big your table is, it will not be big enough. And one thing that Breakfast Street is particularly known for is their Turkish fried bread. You can get Turkish breakfast pretty much anywhere in the city, probably even at your hotel. But is there anywhere better than a street dedicated to breakfast?
Staying on the European side, number 5 is sunrise at the Ortaköy Mosque. Ortaköy is another neighborhood in the Beşiktaş district, and there's a mosque here on the banks of the Bosphorus that has become very popular on Instagram. So chances are you've already heard of it, and maybe you're already planning to visit. That's great, but we recommend you visit this mosque at sunrise. Yes, I know, you're on vacation, but I promise you'll be rewarded for the effort. The sunrise is directly behind the mosque and you have the bridge in the background. It's simply amazing.
And you should definitely get there well before the sun comes up because the mosque is lit up, the bridge is lit up, and you'll probably beat the people there who have paid for their professional photo shoot to get their Instagram shots. Number 6, take a day trip out to the Prince's Islands. That's princes, not princess.
I pronounced it Princess Islands until we went there.
So did I. If you have some extra time here in Istanbul and you're looking for something a bit different, you can reach the Princess Islands in just about an hour and a half by ferry. They are a group of 9 different islands that are off of Istanbul's Asian coast, and the ferry will stop at 4 of them. Just hop off the ferry at one that feels right and you can walk around the streets admiring all the beautiful old mansions, relax on a beach, or you can rent a bicycle and make your way all around the island. There are plenty of cafes and waterfront restaurants, and a day out here can be a great escape from the busy city.
Okay, before we jump into number 7, we just want to be real with you for a minute. If you're planning your trip to Istanbul, this is probably the 4th or 5th video you've watched at this point. I bet you've read some blog posts and you're trying to wrap your head around what you're going to do during your time here. This is a city of over 20 million people. There are 39 districts. Istanbul is massive, and honestly, it can be pretty overwhelming. We understand the hours and hours of time it takes to research and plan out your time in a new country. And let's be serious, there is way more to planning a successful trip than just what you're going to do and see.
That is where we come in. We have built a downloadable guide with 90 pages of detailed information to help make your planning easier. On top of our first-hand experience exploring and living here in Istanbul, we have done those previously mentioned hours and hours of research, and we've put it all in one place. This guide has links to maps where we've pinned our favorite restaurants, itinerary options depending on how long you're going to be here, not to mention so many helpful tips that will save you both time and money while you're here in Istanbul. It even includes some great savings on a couple of our favorite experiences here in the city. And it's less than $10.
If you're coming to Istanbul, you should get this guide. Go to the link in the description below to find out more information and to purchase. Okay, back to the list.
You really should get this guide.
It's amazing. I am so sad I didn't have this guide when we came here. Back to the list, for real this time.
Okay, that brings us to our final recommendation on the list, and what might just be our favorite thing to do outside of the Old City. On the European side, to the north of the city center, you have the neighborhoods of Arnavutköy and Bebek. It takes some effort to get up here, but I promise it is worth it. Once you're up here, you might even forget you're in Istanbul, and the colorful mansions that line the waterfront will probably have you wondering why everyone is raving about the colorful buildings in Balat. Starting a day with sunrise in Ortaköy and breakfast on Breakfast Street in Beşiktaş before coming up to these 2 neighborhoods might just be our single favorite way to spend a day outside of the Old City.
There you have it, our 7 recommendations of things to see and do outside of the Old City. Thanks so much for watching. This is the first of a full series of videos we plan to do here in Istanbul, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one. Also, be sure to let us know what you think about our recommendations in the comments below.